Today on the brand study, we are talking with Matt Levine, the founder of Chlorophyll Water, which is the first shelf-stable bottled water infused with organic chlorophyll. Long before chlorophyll was trending on TikTok, Matt recognized its powerful benefits and he set out to make it easily accessible in a clean, ready-to-drink format. Before launching Chlorophyll Water, Matt built a name for himself running the successful Indie Fork Hospitality Group in New York. This led him to having a celebrity clientele and being featured in major publications like Vanity Fair and New York Magazine. He then made the bold pivot from hospitality into consumer packaged goods, bringing the same creativity and attention to detail into building a wellness-focused beverage brand. In this episode, we'll dive into how Matt bootstrapped a new beverage category, scaled into national retail, and has kept a clear brand identity throughout all the noise. Matt, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me on the brand study today.
Thank you for having me. I'm definitely looking forward, super excited. Stoked to be here.
Amazing. Yeah, so to kick this off, I'd love to hear from you about what chlorophyll water is.
Yeah, so ultra purified water with chlorophyll, fortified with vitamin A, B12, C, and D, a little organic lemon juice, natural spearmint. And we are the first ever bottled water in the USA to pass Clean Label Project certification, meaning it was independently tested for 90 different environmental toxins, harmful chemicals, plasticizers, pesticide residue, sold nationwide at chlorophyllwater.com.
Yeah, that's amazing. And so chlorophyll is actually having quite a moment on social media. You know, it's going viral on TikTok and Instagram within the wellness community. Could you maybe provide some context around what chlorophyll is and some of its benefits?
Yeah, no, of course. It went viral at like 250 million hashtag impressions. Now we're over 1 billion with the hashtags chlorophyll and chlorophyll water. So it's pretty wild. Yeah, I'll kind of like get into how I started it and then why I used it personally. And then, some of the other benefits that people have seen. I decided to give up coffee. I was looking for all natural energy, realized I wanted clean energy, working long hours in restaurants. I just learned about the benefits of chlorophyll, the oxygenating properties, started putting liquid chlorophyll into my morning water. Felt great, felt energized. And then I was like, wait, why has no one created a shelf-stable water with chlorophyll? So I went ahead and created chlorophyll water. For me, I drink it every morning, gives me oxygenating benefits. And then with the additional vitamin A, B12, C, and D, people talk about skincare benefits. People talk about the antioxidant benefit. I like to say chlorophyll is like reading your horoscope. What exactly are you looking for? It's like, why do we have our green smoothies? Why do we eat our veggies? Chlorophyll is kind of the superfood of all superfoods. Speaking of trending, every year there's a different trend or a different, 1 year it'll be wheatgrass, 1 year it'll be marine phytoplankton, 1 year it'll be sea moss, and the common denominator is chlorophyll. I think it's something that we all learn about in grade schools. We're familiar with it, so it's people understand it or are getting to know it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think your story with starting Chlorophyll Water really starts with your time in hospitality and actually running one of New York's top farm-to-table restaurants. I'd love to hear a little bit about how being involved in that industry and being so close to high-quality ingredients and also being in a stressful environment. Hospitality is no joke when it comes to the amount of work involved. I'd love to hear a little bit about how that maybe has ushered in your next chapter.
Of course, yeah. So I was in restaurants for about 20 years, owning and operating restaurants in New York City. And my last restaurant, every dish had a superfood. So I got super, interested in just providing health benefits to our customers, approachable ingredients such as spirulina or wheatgrass. So as we were experimenting with all these superfoods, I just kept on seeing chlorophyll pop up as the main ingredient. Started putting liquid chlorophyll into my morning water. Literally did it for about 2 years. After giving up coffee. And then I was like, why has no one created a shelf-stable water with chlorophyll? So I go to chlorophyllwater.com, chlorophyll water on Instagram, and it was available. And I was like, okay, let me go, I call it naive optimism. I have no idea. I had no idea what I was doing in restaurants, and now I have no idea what I'm doing in the chlorophyll water space. If you asked me 10 years ago if I would be selling bottled water, I would laugh at you. But, life takes you in, take down unexpected roads and you follow your passions and one thing leads to another. So yeah, hospitality is rough. CPG is rough. I mean, there's no easy industry, but I think I used to like to tell my staff at the restaurants, don't read the book, write the book. So, with Chlorophyll Water, I'm kind of just winging it and continuing to grow the brand nationwide.
Yeah, I love that. And I think your time in hospitality provides a completely different outlook. Do you think sometimes being an outsider to the CPG industry, could that be a competitive advantage for you?
I think yes and no. The naive optimism when you launch, um, could get you places. But when we first launched Chlorophyll Water, everyone literally scared me. You know, like, you're gonna have to fight for this shelf space. You're gonna have to do that. You're gonna have to. So I was honestly scared into launching it. I was doing a lot of yoga at the time, so I was like, I was looking at these refrigerators in the yoga studios, and I was like, there's such limited space. Like, let me get in here and let's focus there. So I was literally riding my bike around Brooklyn, getting into yoga studios. Then we partnered with Aloe Yoga, went nationwide with Aloe. So that helped kind of expand the brand. But I think that naive optimism helps you. And then, because if you know what you're doing, then you're also going to follow in the footsteps of every other brand. So you might not get to the top. You might get to, right below them. So I think it's doing things your own way, experimenting. I also think when you're launching a new business in a totally new industry, you have a little imposter syndrome where you really don't feel like you belong and you don't feel like you're part of the beverage club. So when first launching Chlorophyll Water, I definitely did feel a little imposter syndrome doing these trade shows where everyone knew each other. Felt like I needed to hire these type of people to do this and just build credibility. But then about 3 months in, I'm like, this is not me. This is not my personality. This is not what the brand's built about. Let's just, grow it organically, at a pace that's manageable and do it our way.
Yeah. Yeah, I think sometimes when you have that naive optimism, you don't have a rule book. Exactly like you're saying, there's no road to follow. So you can go in paths that maybe others didn't know existed, and you have more of a blank slate to be able to build upon. And before you even had a product, did you do anything to test product market fit? Was there anything that validated this need beyond your own belief?
Yeah, I did two things that really set the tone for the brand. I started giving the guests at my restaurant still sparkling or water with chlorophyll. Next thing I know, the entire restaurant's drinking green water. And I'm like, wow, people are really into this. It's such a contagious thing. People see green water and they're like, what are you drinking? And then speaking of green, I remember when I'm like, I'm going to do this, I started visiting co-packing facilities, water facilities across the country. I remember I was in Polar, Wisconsin, and I line up. So here's the drops. It's super, super green, super dark. So when you put your drops into your water, it gets pretty dark. And then here is the color of our water right now. It's kind of like an emerald green. So I remember lining up the waters from really dark to not too green. And I asked 10 or 15 people in this small town in Polar, Wisconsin, what color do you like the best? Or what would you guys drink? And they said to me, the really dark green looked too healthy. The two light green looked like swamp water. So we kind of settled on the one in the middle, which is, and I didn't realize this, but when it's on shelf now, it kind of glows. It's a beautiful emerald green. You see kind of the refreshness of a bottle of a water, while the green hue of chlorophyll really pops.
Yeah, that's what really attracted me to your booth when we were at Expo West was that green glow coming out of a bottle. It's so unique. It almost looks like an emerald. You described it as emerald green, almost looks like bottled emeralds. It really is such a beautiful, beautiful hue. And I'd love to hear early on, were there any times where you almost gave up or the brand almost didn't make it through any roadblocks?
I mean, there's anytime you're launching a business, the difference between, success and failures literally just got to keep on going. Failure is literally just giving up. So in the beginning, I was literally on my bicycle just riding around to stores, just like, please take in the water. Please just take it. I promise you it'll sell. And kind of when you're doing that, the stores don't see the value in it. So they're throwing it in a corner, they're throwing it somewhere where, it's not going to sell. So I'm like, this is really hard. So then, then the yoga studios came up and it started selling great there, started to get great data. And our velocity was awesome. Then we got into Whole Foods through the Forager program, got into Irvine on the West Coast, and then we just started gaining real traction. We started getting some great press. Kourtney Kardashian featured us on her blog. We were featured. Kaya Gerber was holding it as a stylish prop in Vogue magazine. We started getting all this kind of organic, no pun intended, love on the product. One thing led to another, and yeah, we just started just gaining more traction, more analytics, more velocity, more things to show retailers. And then retailers just started placing the brand in prime locations, and that's where you see great results. But I think for any entrepreneurs listening out there, I think the hardest thing is finding a right co-packer. We've been through a couple since we launched, and if they're not on the same page, then it could be a difficult process. So I think finding the right co-packer. Another little issue that we had, sustainability is a big part of the brand mission. Besides chlorophyll being nature's green magic, I like to call it, the bottle that we use is really important. So when we first launched, our bottles were landfill biodegradable. meaning that we injected the bottle mold with an organic bioresin that makes it biodegrade in landfills within 6 years. But then we found out that the bottles were morphing on the shelf a little because it was so thin. So then we transitioned now to our bottles are made from 100% recycled plastic and with clean flake label technology, meaning that it completely breaks down in the recycling process. We recently partnered with Repurpose Global that for every bottle we sell, we collect the equivalent of one plastic bottle from the ocean, closing the loop. So essentially, not introducing new virgin plastic to the environment at all. So yeah, as we continue to grow, sustainability will be, a core to us. I think, finding the right co-packer, aligning your brand for your sustainability mission could be a roadblock, but you just have to take small steps towards big impact.
Yeah, that's amazing, especially here, the mission impact behind the brand. Are there any other missions and social impact initiatives that you all are taking?
Yeah, we donate whenever possible to, the wildfires in Los Angeles recently. We partnered with Irwan, we partnered with Aloe Yoga to donate products to anyone that was in need. During COVID, we basically gave all our inventory to hospital workers, frontline workers, any way we could donate or we could kind of get involved in just making the world a healthier place. And I know that sounds kind of corny or cliche. The power of chlorophyll, the power of, drinking ultra purified water with vitamins really can make a difference to a lot of people. We're still a small company. As we evolve, I think bigger opportunities will open up, but part of our mission is just, small baby steps and whatever we could do as a small company, we'll continue to, evolve from a sustainability standpoint, from a donation standpoint, and any way we can get involved in any organizations to provide clean drinking water to people. We're always down.
That's amazing. It seems like you all really do have a lot going on, both from a product standpoint and the health benefits, but also from a brand and company standpoint with the give back and sustainability and social impact. How do you communicate this all? Have you seen any communication strategies that have been successful, both product and brand?
That's a great question. I mean, I think from a branding standpoint, our bottles are labeled made from 100% recycled plastic. We have our Clean Label Project certification on there. We have our Clean Flake. We have our Repurpose Global. First, you just need a product that sells. You need a product that's going to sell and that's going to catch the consumer's eye, first and foremost. Then the more chlorophyll water we sell, the bigger impact we can make. So from all these little things, I can't tell you exactly what's been pinpointing movement or what, the consumers really care about. All I know is that as a brand, we're going to be super progressive, in making these small baby steps to make a big difference.
It's amazing. And also, you mentioned the design of the bottle. I think you all did a really great job of allowing the chlorophyll color to really shine through the bottle and not have a label that blocks it. How do you walk that line of minimalism and transparency with the aesthetic of the brand?
That's another great point. A product needs to sell itself. I can't whisper in someone's ear when they're walking down a Wegmans aisle, Sprouts aisle, and say, "Hey, please buy me." The product really needs to stand out. And I think I mentioned this kind of earlier. Like chlorophyll is one of those we all learned about it in grade school. If we were introducing marine phytoplankton or turmeric or all these superfoods, it would take a lot more education. If I had a penny for every time someone said to me, chlorophyll more like borophyll, the Adam Sandler quote, we'd be making a lot of money. I think that as chlorophyll becomes more and more popular, as plant-based living, plant-based lifestyles grow, chlorophyll is going to grow and ride with that wave. As far as our minimalistic design, I think the product needs to sell itself. We don't want to trick the customers. We don't want to, greenwash. We don't want to do any of these things. This is what we do. These are the organizations that we're a part of. And we think these make a difference. Clean Label Project certification, to me, it's the most important certification a brand could get. And being the first ever bottled water in the US to pass, that shows our transparency. Clean Label testing it for these 90 different environmental toxins, harmful chemicals, shows that we're really committed to our purification process. It's very popular in baby food. It's very popular in Europe. As Clean Label becomes more and more popular, I think people will recognize that, okay, chlorophyll water is really making a difference. We're paying Repurpose Global to collect the ocean plastic from the ocean. We're paying Clean Label Project certification to test, regardless if we're going to come back clean or not. They're consistently testing the brand and the product, in third-party independent labs for these harmful chemicals, pesticide residues, and plasticizers.
That's amazing. I'm sure your retail partners really appreciate all the hard work you're doing and all the ground foundation that you're doing to create stories that then in store creates a product that's really desirable. And you mentioned that you're sold nationwide with Aloe Yoga. That's amazing. That's such a cool partnership. I'd love to hear how that partnership came to be and actually how you were able to land on some of these bigger retailers.
I think when you launch, you have a vision board of where you want your brand to sit, what retailers you see partnerships with. And to be honest with you, I thought it was unobtainable because I knew no one there. But Aloe at the core, their mission, clean living, yoga, the lifestyle really pairs well with the brand. We were selling so many independent yoga studios and fitness studios around Brooklyn and New York. And there was a yoga teacher, Melanie, that just fell in love with the brand. She happened to be an Aloe ambassador. She linked us up with the New York flagship in Soho. We started selling there, was consistently selling out. And from there, we just, as Aloe opened up more doors, we grew with them and now going nationwide with them. Our second account, we were fortunate. Shout out to Vito at Irwan. He took a chance on the brand. I remember meeting with him prior to even having a booth at Expo West, meeting with him, going out there to Los Angeles. Vito took a chance, took the brand in. 4 years later, we're still in the same spot at Irwan. Whole Foods, we got in through their forager program, got into a couple stores, showed awesome velocity in those stores, and then grew to the entire Northeast in Whole Foods. So I think if you've got a brand, if you could show results and you could show that you want to make meaningful impacts, whether it's from a sustainability and being a small brand, you could evolve, starting with our landfill biodegradable bottles, then to our 100% PCR. Now with our partnerships with Repurpose Global, we're continuing to take these progressive steps, and I think our retail partners see it. We just launched nationwide with Sprouts. We're in, Wegmans, Meijer, Pura Vida in New York and Miami, Bristol Farms, Lazy Acres, Giant, Earth Fare. So it's been cool. Urban Outfitters, we launched with nationwide, which is pretty cool. But again, I knew nobody in this industry when launching. So I think anyone listening out there thinking about starting a brand, like it's okay not to know anybody. There's a lot of really cool websites and platforms, and LinkedIn has been amazing connecting with new retail buyers. Range Me is another great platform we're on that retailers find us. You could have, I'm going to say that naive optimism quote again. I kind of just made that up for this interview, but I was so optimistic that we could get into these retailers, but I didn't know how. I just saw a chlorophyll water sitting on these shelves. We just launched with Juice Press. I saw, Juice Press, I thought would be the perfect partner. And now we just launched with Three Natives in Florida as well. So all these retailers, they align with our core ethos of clean eating, clean labels, and leading with nutrition.
I think it all comes back to that restaurant story. Seeing people kept wanting the green water, they kept wanting the chlorophyll water. I think that really at the core is like, okay, we just need to get this out into the world and find the right partnerships to help usher this out into the world through the right channels. And you hear Aloe Yoga. I mean, the story of chlorophyll water and the consumer at Aloe, that seems like a no-brainer. And that's so interesting to hear that you thought that was too aspirational and was almost a retailer that would just be way too big for you to ever get into. And now here you are nationwide. And it's so cool to hear that there's really no magic bullet. I mean, you networked your way in through a yoga instructor to the buyer to the people that actually bring the products into their stores. And I think at the end of the day, new founders are, they're looking into this void. They just have to get out there, start meeting the right people, have a product that has a sticky story. And I think that's really what chlorophyll water is doing and what you're doing for the brand.
Thank you. I think just, when you have, again, I really have no idea what I'm doing. Just winging it is, like it's, and I think that most founders don't, or most founders, feel like everybody else knows what they're doing, and everyone's got, people look at our brand and yeah, they're like, how'd you get in here? How'd you do this? How'd you do that? There must be a secret way or a secret recipe. I think it's just being authentic, and the brand needs to sell itself. So as much as I could go in there and I could have a great presentation, if it's not selling on the shelf, then you could be the coolest entrepreneur with the coolest story, and retailers won't reorder. But we've been fortunate that the brand, once it's on shelf, it sells. Shout out to all the customers that are supporting us since day one. I mean, it's been awesome to you know seeing customers return and return. We've got a really high returning customer rate on Amazon, on Shopify, on our chlorophyllwater.com website. And it's been cool to see that. There's no right or wrong answers on how to build a brand, but I think just being authentic and just being real and just having real conversations on, hey, how could we improve, or what are your customers looking for? Also constantly getting feedback. Once they take in chlorophyll water, that's just the beginning. It's checking in. How are the sales going? Hey, let's do an Earth Day special, or it's yoga month, or hey, let me send in some influencers to grab some content, and then I'll boost it to your zip code, to help local traffic. So I think all those retailers that I named are pretty great, and are pretty great, and they're widespread, and they've got a big footprint. But to me, those smaller retailers like the Sonny's on Second in Bentonville, Arkansas, or Shoebies in Martin Head, Massachusetts, or all these smaller retailers are really the heart and beat of the brand. So those are the ones, those independent retailers that we really focus on and I've seen great growth in because they really help grow the brand because the consumers there that are supporting the local mom and pops and the independents, they're also going into the larger retailers. They might see your brand there. But for us, it's a mixture of both. It's not just about those large retailers, which I mentioned, which are cool to have on one sheeter, but it's the independent retailers are really the heart and beat of Chlorophyll Water.
There's a branding term, the brand evangelists, the people who are really into your brand and will spread the word for you on your behalf. They're going to the small mom and pops looking for the new cool products that are coming through the boutique retail channels. And that's so cool. And you mentioned some really interesting strategies that you use to actually move product off shelf. You mentioned influencers, you mentioned doing Earth Day promotions. Are there any other strategies that you use with your retail partners to actually help sell product off the shelf?
Yeah, I think sending in influencers have been really impactful for us. Whether it's a mom and pop store or it's a larger grocery retailer, we're sending in influencers to grab content for them, just so our following, their following know that chlorophyll water is there because there's a lot of competition on the shelf. Sending in influencers has been great. Another really valuable tool has been Instacart. Advertising on Instacart has been great for us because it's a win-win-win for everybody. Our new to customer sales are high, our returning customer rate is high. So retailers see success, the consumers finding our new brand, Chlorophyll Water, and then we're seeing a return on, velocity per store. So I think it's just a mixture of both. Tastings and demos are always effective because, people see chlorophyll water and they're like, wow, that's going to taste like grass. And then they take a sip and they're like, wow, that's actually really good. But people always expect it to taste like grass. It's the tastings and demos are always effective. But as a small company, demos can't be, there's so many retailers out there, so you can't do demos all over the country. But I think, social media has been great, and we're trying to still figure out what works best. We're still a young company. We're still evolving. We're still learning and adapting on what works and what moves chlorophyll water off the shelf. But you said something great earlier. It's those mom and pops. Like we've got custom retailers that tell us their customers come in are buying 6 and 7, and they're posting about it on social. Those independent retailers and those really loyal customer bases are the ones that speak for the brand.
Absolutely. And I think kind of coming back to the overall theme of naive optimism and having a smaller brand and you're still growing so quickly, you can experiment. You can do these little micro experiments with different partners, different influencers, and really act quickly. Where bigger brands, there's a lot more bureaucracy and there's really set budgets and set strategies, and things can't be as experimental and as fluid as you're describing. So I feel like being able to react and be nimble depending on the partner and the retail region as well can be so impactful. And kind of looking at your sales holistically, would you say chlorophyll water is mostly a retail or D2C or Amazon and marketplace? Where are most of your sales taking place right now?
Retail, our website gets great traffic, but we're still looking to improve our conversion rate there. But retail right now has been our main driving force. Retail, then Amazon, then our D2C. So I think D2C is still evolving. People are coming to our website to learn about the benefits or read other customer reviews, learn about our brand story. But retail is where we've seen the most success. And you just said, we could pivot. And I think that's an important thing for all brands out there. Launching, I had, grandiose plans on chlorophyll water, but we've been bootstrapping it since day one. Consistently read about CPG brands raising significant amounts of capital or doing 40 million in revenue, losing 60 million. For me, I go back to my restaurant roots. If we weren't profitable, the landlord would come, close down, evict us. If we weren't profitable, our vendors wouldn't deliver, our employees wouldn't show up for work. So I think coming from that industry, watching every penny, being profitable, remaining profitable at scale is super important. When a lot of people in our CPG space, it's growth at all costs, or they're raising to be rescued. And for any founders out there, it's okay to start small, grow your sales organically, bootstrap, and it's better because you'll make smaller mistakes that aren't as costly, and you'll watch every penny. You don't need to grow quickly. It's better to grow small, grow organically, make small mistakes. So use that word pivot. If something's not working, you could pivot. As a brand, I think that's the most important. Be nimble, be small, just grow at a pace that's really manageable and that you feel comfortable with.
That is so interesting to hear, especially the contrast with your hospitality experience in managing finances. I hear people all the time talking about slim margins in CPG. And I'm like, You want to know slim margins? Go run a restaurant because every penny, every day matters. I have a bunch of friends that run restaurants locally, and they tell me some stories that if they have a slow weekend, that it's going to affect the entire month. Whereas with CPG, you can do things to create velocity, and maybe a store pops off here, you can launch a promotion, and there's so many more opportunities with spreading product out throughout the country. So that's so interesting to hear that your learnings of managing business from hospitality and how that has ushered into your CPG days.
Yeah, it's scary. When you launch a restaurant, you open up and you hope for people to come. There's a chance that no one will show up. You're really waiting on the customers. Similar in the CPG space, you put it on the shelves and you're waiting on the customers to purchase. They're both different businesses, but they're alike that you're waiting on the customer. But if you have a good product, if you have a product that sells, if you have a product that the consumer could reorder, that could do a subscription with, you're solving a problem. Again, I used to put liquid chlorophyll drops into my morning water. I made a mess. I can't tell you how many countertops I've ruined. I was making a mess. And I was like, why has no one created a shelf-stable water with chlorophyll? Why has no one done this? So, I think we solved the problem that they wanted a ready-to-drink water with chlorophyll. People that, really know chlorophyll and yeah, they'll still continue to buy the drops. But chlorophyll water is a really great introduction into the benefits of chlorophyll, and for people to grab it on the go. And I encourage people just start with chlorophyll water, then graduate to drops, then graduate to marine phytoplankton or whatever your wheatgrass, sea moss. But I think chlorophyll water is just a really great introduction to the benefits of chlorophyll.
You mentioned earlier the virality around chlorophyll as a superfood. I'd love to hear how you've actually been able to stay really true to what you all are doing and not getting swept up in short-term trends that could maybe throw off your brand vision.
I remember it was during COVID where we had just launched, and about 6, 7 months in, chlorophyll, the hashtags chlorophyll water and chlorophyll went viral. And chlorophyll didn't have a TikTok at the time. But I woke up one morning and we had crazy amounts of orders, and I'm like, "What's going on? Like, what's happening here?" And then I see that chlorophyll, the hashtags chlorophyll and chlorophyll water went viral. Users of chlorophyll, not our particular brand, just more the drops. There was an introduction into the benefits of chlorophyll and all these benefits that people were getting, whether it was skincare, detox, weight loss, antioxidants, immune. Everyone was raving about the benefits. So I just woke up one morning. I remember I was in my car. I pull over because at this point, I was getting alerts when orders were coming in because we were so young. And I'm like, what's going on here? This is crazy. And I see that chlorophyll and chlorophyll water, was trending on TikTok. And it trended at 250 million impressions, and now it's up to over 1 billion. So I think not getting caught up in yes, use something great. There's viral and there's trendy, and then there's just something that I think has lasting power. So I think every year all these experts put out their superfoods of the year. And in the past 4 years, it's been wheatgrass, it's been spirulina, it's been sea moss, marine phytoplankton, and the common denominator is chlorophyll. As all these trends come and go, chlorophyll is a consistent. Green foods are never going to go anywhere. We all need our veggie. I myself have been plant-based now for 14 years. Whether you're making a green smoothie or you're juicing celery juice, chlorophyll is that common denominator, and it's what makes all of these fruits and vegetables healthy. So as these trends come and go, I truly believe chlorophyll will remain consistent. Yeah, so who knows what the future will hold, but I truly believe chlorophyll is there's no earth without chlorophyll. Like we need chlorophyll. Plants need chlorophyll. We need plants to breathe. The ocean needs chlorophyll for the marine plankton, and we need it to survive. So we'll see what the future beholds, but I truly believe chlorophyll is here to stay, and I think we're only in the first inning of people understanding the benefits. So we've got a long runway ahead of us.
That's so cool to see you stay so focused on the value and on the product rather than trying to chase these little trends that might actually not be value add for the customers. And looking at your website, you really are staying so focused on your product offering. You have your shelf stable bottled water offering and then your chlorophyll drops, which to me just shows how committed and focused you are rather than trying to expand to as many SKUs as possible.
I would say the jack of all trades, master of none. Bringing out all these SKUs and these different flavor profiles. A lot of brands do it. They do it less for the consumer, but more for shelf space. So they're like, if I have more SKUs, if I have more flavors, I'll have a bigger shelf space on the floor, and there's a chance of somebody buying one of my SKUs or one of my flavors. For chlorophyll water, jack of all trades, master of none. This is what we do. We do water, we do ultra purified water with chlorophyll, fortify with, additional vitamin A, B12, C, and D, and super refreshing taste. And that's all. We just launched our 1 liter. We've got our 16.9 ounce made from 100% recycled plastic. And then we're also launching aluminum cans, in a few months. So it's all the same flavor. It's all the, little organic lemon juice, natural spearmint. For us, it's the customer comes first. We're not looking for additional shelf space. We just want to provide a really hydrating, refreshing bottled water that packs benefits. If you look at all the bottled waters out there, whether it's Mountain Valley Spring or Essentia or Fiji or vitamin water, we literally take all the best parts of all these really popular waters and we combine it into one bottled water. We've got vitamins, we're ultra purified, we're bottled in 100% recycled plastic. We're taking all of the best factors of everyone's favorite waters out there and combining it into one enhanced premium water.
That's so interesting to hear about your product strategy moving forward and to really invest in the customer and to try to make the best product that you can rather than as many products. So it's really going to be a quality over quantity approach. And let's imagine you're looking forward 10 or even 20 years. What do you hope people feel when they try a chlorophyll water product?
The feedback we hear the most right now is that was actually really good. They throw in that word actually. It's super refreshing. Tastes like people say spa water, tastes super clean. They say it makes them feel energized right after. We hear a lot of great feedback. 10 to 20 years. It's so hard to predict that, but I really do want to make the world kind of a healthier place. I know it sounds corny. I know it sounds cheesy. I know it sounds so cliche, but if we could continue to provide an ultra purified water, clean label project certified, and consumers are reaping the benefits of chlorophyll, they're getting their vitamin A, they're getting their vitamin B12, they're getting their vitamin C, their vitamin D. I just want to make nutrition more accessible. If we could continue to create a better product, better for you while we're tackling sustainability and while we're evolving our mission. That's all I could ask for. I really have no idea. I've got my vision boards ready to go, and there's retailers we would love to partner with and continue to grow the brand. But in 10 to 12 years, I really hope the powers that be out there create more sustainable bottled options. Is using 100% recycled plastic the solution? No. Is it a step in the right direction? Yes. We're looking to bottling partners to continue to evolve with our packaging, that we could evolve with them. To answer your question in a long-winded answer, yeah, I think in 10 to 20 years, I hope we find more sustainable options for bottling and continue to just grow the brand and get it more widespread so more people could buy it.
That's amazing to hear that the mission and your why, the brand's why, is really leading the charge for that growth. And shifting to you personally as a founder, knowing what you know today, if you were to start this brand from scratch, what would you do differently?
I think launching a brand in a new industry, an entire new realm of business, every founder, whether they admit it or not, you have imposter syndrome. You feel like you're in the I don't belong club. When I first launched Chlorophyll Water, I felt like I needed to hire the the right website designer or the right, the logo, for example. We hired an agency to do focus groups and to do studies. They created a logo. I didn't love it. I ended up drawing this logo on a piece of paper, and that's our logo today. So I think when launching a brand, for any other founders out there, no one knows what they're doing. I think it's better to start small. It's okay to have imposter syndrome because really no one knows what they're doing. People act like they do. And there's a level of confidence that you need to have as an entrepreneur. But I think starting it over, I think we grew it at a pace that's really manageable. We grew it organically, and from 1 store to 2 stores to 3 stores to 4 stores to 5 stores, then growing it to the Sprouts, the Whole Foods, the Irwans, Bristol Farms, Lazy Acres. I'm trying to shout out all the retailers that have been super supportive of us. But I think if we didn't organically grow it, then we couldn't, pivot from our landfill biodegradable bottles to our 100% PCR bottles. Starting over, I wouldn't do anything different. It was all learning. It was all evolution of the brand. The other part about it is when I launched it, everyone scared me. They're like, "Don't do it." You mentioned earlier the margins in the restaurant business are so small that people scared me when we're launching into restaurants. So I think every business is tough. Every industry is tough, regardless of what you do, whether you're a police officer or nurse or doctor. There's a lot of tough businesses out there that people are struggling, founders are struggling, employees are struggling. So no industry, no profession is easy. But if you truly believe in something that you do, and if you're willing to take 2 steps backwards, take 1 step forward, I think that's an important lesson that I learned launching Chlorophyll Water.
Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode. Make sure to click the follow button on your podcast app so you never miss a new episode. If you're looking for more practical takeaways to grow your brand, subscribe to the Brand Study newsletter. It's packed with exclusive content, deep brand analysis, and real-world insights you can actually use. Sign up today at thebrandstudy.co. I'm Conrad, and I'll see you next time.